Guild Wars 2 of course has food and utility consumables in there that are temporary effects, and they can be quite potent. And in this video I want to cover the basics and the advanced things to know about food in Guild Wars 2 so that you are perfectly healthy and always eat the right things for your character. As always, special shout out to all my dear supporters that help me keep the lights on, and now without much further ado, let's jump straight in. And let's start by saying I cover different topics in this video. If you only want to see a specific one, be sure to check out the description for the timestamps. But now let's start with explaining what food is. Food is a special type of consumable that you can just use by double clicking it in your inventory. And it grants you a special effect next to your boon bar, which is called nourishment. And they will have a temporary effect, like lasting for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, something like that. And it will increase your stats of your character typically. You can craft them either yourself, buy them from the trading post, or from vendors. This is how this works. They have very different effects that they can give you. Some of them are really potent, some of them are somewhat useless. And I will cover how this works. And there is another type of consumable, which is utility consumables, which I will cover later, because you can use food and utility consumables both at the same time to increase your stats even more. Food in general, I want to mention it here at the beginning, is always recommended to use. Even if you're playing in open world or whatever easy content you are doing, even then food increases your stats and should improve your odds of succeeding in what you're doing. Of course, if you are on a budget, you can use cheaper food. Or if you want to get the highest amount of damage, you should use the best in slot food. Now let's cover how much food increases your DPS. That heavily depends on the build and on the food you use, of course. If you use high level food, it can actually go up to 15% of damage increase if you use the food. It's obviously a very niche build if you have this specific high damage number, just depending on the food. But yes, it exists. Typical food is somewhere between 5 to 10%. So yes, I think if you're going for no food and you use food instead, you would increase your DPS quite a bit for most builds. Just keep in mind, this is even applying to healing builds because they are healing foods as well. So keep that in mind. It's actually very important to always use food. It doesn't have to be the best in slot food, but using food actually improves the odds. Even if you're using very cheap food, it helps you getting more stats. Before I go to the next topic and talk about the variety of food, I want to mention, if you like this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content and more guide about Guild Wars 2, be sure to hit the subscribe button as well. But now let's talk about the variety of food. As you can see here on the wiki, link is in the description down below, of course, to this page. There are hundreds. If I scroll down, there are really so many different foods, and for every situation almost there is a food. Let's quickly cover what kind of variety there is, like the different durations, of course. You have different levels, so when you can use it, and feasts. Feasts are, so to say, AoE foods, where you can place it down, and for the next 5 minutes, there will be a place where every player that is next to it can interact with it and get this buff of the food. Then you have different attributes that they can buff. Some foods even have celestial stats, so that it will buff every single attribute. Then you have some other special things that they can increase the experience gain, for example, the gold gain, the karma gain, the magic find, and even the fishing power. And then you have some special ones that increase, for example, one condition, the duration of that, or give you some boons, or give you some lifesteal on top of that. And then you have very different ones depending on how they work. Some of them just give flat stats, other gives you something on dodge, other gives on kill. There are a lot of different ones. And then you have some that are even decreasing the damage you can take, give you more endurance regeneration and that kind of stuff. So you can use this filter parameters to actually change what food you actually want to get and find that. And most of them are available on trading posts. Some of them you have to craft yourself because they are account bound, which is specifically important for ascended feasts, but we will cover that in a later section of the video. And typical foods for PvE are mostly power-based, full DPS options, like going for power and ferocity, like the bowl of sweet and spicy butternut squad suit that you can see here, very commonly used. Or for condi food, you would typically use something that gives you condition damage and expertise. This is something quite similar. And for healing food, of course, there are multiple ones as well. But I typically mention them all in my videos when I do a specific build guide and tell you which kind of food you should use for that. Let's now talk about ascended food. Ascended food is a special type of food. Like I mentioned earlier, it's AoE food, so to say, and it lasts 1 hour when you use it, or everyone that can use it. It is very important that you have to craft it yourself. You can't, so to say, buy it from another player. Yes, you can use it if another player puts it down, but you have to craft it yourself, and that requires 500 rank of chef, so this crafting profession. And you have to do the gourmet training collection. Link to it is in the description down below as well. Sometimes, or most of the times actually, ascended food is actually not that expensive. It's just requiring you to craft it yourself. Oftentimes, the normal food can be more expensive than the ascended food to craft. You just have to craft it yourself. That's the difference. Ascended food comes in 5 different types of varieties. The stats are the same as usual, so as the normal food, but it has another specific effect on top of that. There are 5 different ones of those. You can either have minus 20% incoming condition duration, you can have plus 10% outgoing healing, minus 10% incoming damage from direct damage, you can have gain health every second, which would be 85 health per second, or you can have as last one, 66% chance to steal life on critical hit. You can see what kind of ingredient you have to put in there to get this. The lifesteal here is typically around 162.5 per second if you hit the enemy and crit all the time. So it can be a nice DPS increase, and that would be the most go-to option for DPS. If you are in a tough fight and you expect to take a lot of power damage, then the minus 10% incoming damage would also be good. And the outgoing healing effectiveness obviously makes a lot of sense for healers. And the other two are quite niche and you would not use them that often. Ascended food also gives you more buffs than the normal food. So you will get 20% magic find gain, you will get 20% gold gain, you will get 10% world experience, so in world versus world to rank up faster, and you will get 10% karma, as well as 5% to all experience gain. So that will increase your experience from every single source. So that's actually quite potent to use on all characters as well. To craft ascended food, you also have to keep not only crafting it yourself, but you also have to use some special ingredients, which are salvaged other foods. So yes, you have to salvage other foods to actually get to make your ascended food craft yourself. So this is a little bit convoluted. Let me know in the comments if you want to see a guide about ascended food crafting, cooking, and I will do that in the future. Normal food also gives specific buffs that are not only like stat increases, but also, for example, plus 10% experience. This experience is also mostly mentioned with 10% experience gain from kills, so only if you kill a specific mob. The same goes, for example, for karma or something like that. If it mentions from all sources, that means that it's from all sources, and otherwise it's just from direct karma drops. And it's not increasing consumables, for example, the karma gain. Just one example. Let's now talk about utility consumables. I mentioned it earlier, you can have food and utility consumables next to each other. And the utility consumables have a little bit different how they work. Typically, they increase your stats not directly, but are taking some kind of percentage of another stat to move it on top of the other one. So it's not taking something away, it's just taking something into consideration. So you have sharpening stones, maintenance or tuning crystals, writs, which are direct stats. We will get to that in a second. And you have slaying potions. So we will cover that all here. So for one example would be superior sharpening stones, just something very simple. Superior sharpening stones gives you power equal to 3% of your precision, while you also get power equal to 6% of your ferocity. So you get just more power on top of that. You would always want to use something like that, and there is no ascended version of this right now. Some of them are way better than others, of course, makes sense depending on the build that you are playing. I also want to mention here for food and consumables, there is this diminished effect. So when you run out of food, it will go not completely away, but the stats will leave, but you will have another buff that says diminished, some kind of purple glow, and this means that you get some kind of reminder that you don't forget about it. Now let's talk about writs. Writs are specific things that you can get from scribing, and they're quite expensive, the higher ones. Those give you very good conversions. So for example, you get more condition damage or power directly, for example, when you are above 90% health. So that's actually really good if you can upkeep that all the time. It's typically the best option as an enhancement that you can get. Better than the normal sharpening stones if you can upkeep it all the time, but it's also way more expensive. And lastly, we have slaying potions. Slaying potions are very specific. You can craft them at the artificer station if you have it unlocked. And the highest ones give you plus 10% versus a specific creature. So for example, if you have demon slaying potions, they give you plus 10% damage against demons, cryptis and titan spawn. So that's a really powerful potion. And the second part is very good as well, minus 10% incoming damage from demons, cryptis and titan spawn as well. So these are the best consumables to use if you're fighting only a specific enemy type. This can be really good in convergences, for example, but also in fractals or dungeons specifically. Other than that, you would not use them, because if you of course fight a lot of enemies that are different types, then you will just not get that much stats, and you would probably use better off with the normal food or utility consumable. The last thing that I want to mention here are metabolic and utility primers. Those are items that you can use to increase the length of how long food lasts. So if you use the normal versions, they will give you 12 hours, and whenever you eat a food, it will copy the duration of the metabolic or the utility primer, so that if it's currently 12 hours and counting down, the food will also last for 12 hours. You can still change the food by eating another food, and it will copy the duration again. There are some Craftable primers as well. They only last 2 hours instead of 12, but you can craft them yourself if you have the specific gardening plot in the home instance and homestead. The 12-hour versions you can only get from Blackline chests or from a gem store. This is all about food and utility consumables. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again to our dear supporters. All the links to the things mentioned in this video are in the description down below. Let me know if you have any more questions, and I hope to see you all in the next video.